Games like Amori, Off, and Undertale show us how indie RPGs can hide some of the deepest and darkest stories beneath their simple exteriors. 7 Days follows in their footsteps, a surreal journey where each passing day forces a nameless boy to confront a different part of his life he's never processed. His trauma takes shape in unsettling ways, and the choices he makes or fails to make decides how his story ends. The game begins with our nameless protagonist lost in a monologue about his inner struggle. It's unclear if he's drifting into sleep, slipping into a dreamlike space, or even losing consciousness entirely. From there, we're placed in his bedroom, a confined, almost empty environment where only a few objects can be interacted with. Right away, we start getting glimpses into his state of mind. He's a smoker, he admits to losing track of time and not remembering the end of a movie, subtle signs that point toward dissociation. Interacting with the clock on his wall gives us one of the first clear pieces of foreshadowing. He notices the clock's arms are missing and remarks that it's just like how he lost his own. Boundaries between sleeping, dreaming, and being awake are already blurred, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. From here, the story officially begins with day 1. For the first time, we step outside of the house, and immediately, the tone of the game begins to take shape. Day 1 is mostly about easing us into the world, letting us explore and get familiar with the environment. The first character we encounter is a girl standing by the bus stop. Her name is Haven, and from the way she talks, it feels like she already knows us. She encourages us to look around a little before moving on, and here we learn her other role. She acts as the game's save point. It's a clever detail since she becomes our literal safe haven throughout the story. With nothing else to do but follow her guidance, that's exactly what our protagonist does, marking the beginning of his journey through day 1. At first, there isn't much to do in this area aside from laying down some planks to cross the river. On the other side, we encounter one of the loneliness, tall, shadowy figures that feel part guide, part interrogator. They immediately begin asking us questions, and this is where the game starts hinting at its branching paths. Choosing more hopeful, positive answers nudges the story toward a good ending, while negative responses push us toward the bad. Once the conversation ends, the loneliness leaves behind something to help the protagonist confront his past. A simple white sheet. When he wears it, he almost resembles a ghost. This isn't just for looks though, it allows him to shift between states. Pressing G on the keyboard pulls him into the past version of his surroundings, while removing it returns him to the present. After a brief cutscene, the day comes to a close. We find ourselves back in the bedroom, waking up to day 2. This time, there's a new item waiting, a backpack the protagonist can pick up, signaling the next stage of his journey. Day 2 begins much like the first. The protagonist eats breakfast and he steps outside to head to the bus stop. This time, instead of wandering the neighborhood, we're waiting for the bus stop to take us somewhere new, school. When we enter the school, everything almost seems welcoming at first. The hallways look bright, and the background music is chill and upbeat. But the protagonist immediately notes that familiar, unsettling feeling he's experienced before, reminding us that appearances can be deceiving. This is the first place we get to use the white sheet in earnest. Pressing G transforms our surroundings into a glimpse of the past, allowing the protagonist and the player to experience one of his earliest traumas, feeling unintelligent in front of the teacher and the entire class. After witnessing this flashback, we're faced with a choice. A negative response leads the protagonist to say, "This is who I am," cementing his feelings of self-doubt and moving the story toward a bad ending. A positive response, on the other hand, gives him the resolve to say, "I want to move on," nudging the narrative toward the good ending. It's a powerful moment that shows how even small decisions begin shaping his path through trauma. In the second classroom, we once again use the white sheet to enter the past. Here, the protagonist recalls studying intensely for a test, only to realize later that he remembers none of it. He describes a paralyzing sense of helplessness, unable to move or act, an early glimpse of the anxiety and pressure that have haunted him for years. Moving to the next floor, we arrive at the music room. Using the sheet, we witness the protagonist back in his old music class. The teacher turns on a song and he closes his eyes, fully absorbing it. Music, he explains, has always been special to him. Even when he began using drugs, it remained his only true safe space for a long time, a sanctuary where he could feel some control and comfort amid the chaos of his life. Next, we head to the bathroom. Using the white sheet here reveals another memory, one of the darker ones so far. The protagonist hides inside a bathroom stall, and in front of him stand 3 shadowy black figures. They linger there, refusing to leave, while he stays paralyzed in fear. He admits he remained in that stall for hours, unable to come out. It's a powerful image of anxiety and isolation, feeling trapped, scrutinized, and powerless to escape. Finally, in the gym, he places the sheet over himself once more. This time, the memory is violent. He recalls the day he accidentally hit another kid with the ball. At first, it was just a mistake, but the other boy retaliated with fury. The protagonist remembers the humiliation of being helpless and the searing pain as his arm broke. It wasn't just the injury, it was the way it imprinted on him, teaching him that sometimes life punished mistakes far harsher than they deserved. After the memory in the gym fades, the broken arm, the helplessness, the sting of humiliation, the protagonist leaves the building. The day is over, but the unease still lingers as he makes his way back to the bus stop. This time, however, he isn't alone. Another one of the loneliness figures stands near the stop, its tall, shadowy form almost blending into the dusk. Its words are cryptic. It begins to ask him questions, not direct ones, but riddled in suggestion, making him reflect on the choices he has made and the responses he's given. The loneliness admits, though, that it doesn't hold the power to decide what's wrong or right for him. It wonders aloud if the protagonist will ever stop running from pain for the rest of his life. The encounter feels like both an interrogation and a mirror, the loneliness offering no answers, only forcing him to confront the uncertainty of his own decisions. Soon after, the bus arrives, the figure vanishes, and the protagonist steps on. Day 3 begins with the protagonist waking up in his room once again. This time, the item waiting for him is a family picture, a small but important detail since each day's object serves as a hint toward the theme of that day's trauma. Stepping outside, we see a car parked near Haven. When we talk to her, she mentions that she's heard about our plan to visit our hometown, and she tells us that she set up flags along the way that can be used as temporary save points. After speaking with her, the protagonist gets into the car and begins to drive. On the road, his thoughts drift towards his parents. He admits he hasn't visited them in years, if ever, and that he was glad to have moved out. As he drives, he reminisces about his family, setting the tone for the memories and unresolved pain waiting for him back home. When we finally arrive at the family home, the tone shifts immediately. The house is a mess, and sitting in front of the TV is the protagonist's father, slouched over and drunk. He doesn't even acknowledge his son's presence. Exploring further, we step into the bathroom and use the white sheet. Here, we witness a painful flashback, his mother crying over the tub. The protagonist explains that whenever his father drank heavily and started yelling, the bathroom was the only place his mother could retreat to, her one safe space in the house. This moment begins to uncover the roots of his family trauma, showing us not just his own pain, but the suffering he grew up surrounded by. In his parents' room, the memory we uncover is different from the others. Instead of fear or sadness, we see a softer, more wholesome moment. The protagonist's mother sitting on the bed, reading to him while he leans against her. It's a rare glimpse of comfort in a childhood otherwise overshadowed by chaos. Scenes like this remind us that even in a painful past, there were moments of warmth, and those memories linger just as strongly as the darker ones. Next, we step into the protagonist's old bedroom. Using the white sheet here reveals one of the most telling flashbacks so far. He's sitting in bed, covered by what I believe is the same sheet that he uses when he moves back and forth between the present or the past, and he's trying to block out the sound of his father's drunken yelling. It's a heartbreaking detail, and it may also explain why the white sheet became the symbol for revisiting the past. For him, hiding under it was the only way to feel safe. What was once a shield in his childhood is now likely the key to confronting the memories he's tried so hard to bury. The kitchen is actually the more warmer, more inviting area than the rest of the house, surprisingly. We see a quick flashback. The mother kneeling down a little bit to her son's height, holding him as she softly says, "I love you," which she doesn't even really understand that her son feels uncomfortable and doesn't know how to respond. He just pretty much says in his mind, in present time, that it always made him uncomfortable and that he never really understood her. Back in the present, his mother stands at the counter. She looks at him and she says that she hopes that he took care of himself after all these years and that she was just really worried about him and she thought about him every day. Then she starts to get a little bit upset, saying, "Do you know how it felt that you left me alone? I know you didn't move because of me, but why did you leave? Why are you even here now?" Cut to the protagonist quietly getting ready for dinner. The family sit around the dinner table. For the first time all day, the father speaks. His voice is what I would like to believe, perhaps low and hesitant. "It's good to have you back." He pauses. "For years I thought about what I would say if you ever came home. I'm sorry to both of you. I gave you unfair lives. I know that now." For a moment, everything feels fragile, like the whole house is holding its breath. After dinner, the protagonist gathers himself, ready to leave, but just before he can step outside, he's confronted once again. Another one of the loneliness figures emerges. Its voice cuts through the silence, telling him that he's holding on to something, clinging to an illusion that keeps him trapped. Then comes the truth, delivered like a knife. His parents are already gone. His father died in a car crash, and his mother stabbed herself to death. But of course, the protagonist knows this. Before the protagonist can even respond, the loneliness fades back into the void, leaving him alone again. He once again makes his way back to the bus stop. The next morning, on day 4, the protagonist wakes up in his room once more. Next to his bed sits a ball of yarn, today's item, a subtle clue for what lies ahead. He picks it up and decides to carry it with him. But the moment he steps outside, something unexpected happens. A cat darts out of nowhere, snatching the yarn straight from his hands before sprinting off into the distance, and the protagonist begins to give chase. It's a sudden, almost playful pursuit that contrasts sharply with the heaviness of the days before. But as with everything else in this world, there's an unshakable sense that this cat and the yarn represent more than they seem. The chase eventually leads him somewhere entirely new, Cat City. This place is strange and surreal, full of wandering cats and other types of people and beings and whatever that seem to exist with a sense of purpose. It feels quieter, gentler than the other areas so far, but there's still that same dreamlike weight pressing down. While exploring the city, the protagonist slips into his first flashback here. He recalls his old cat, Celine. He remembers how he once built a little fort for her, a space where she could be safe and comfortable. In contrast, he reflects on how his own parents never really cared about Celine at all, never showing her the affection she deserved. The memory sets the tone for Cat City. It isn't just a strange, whimsical new place, but a window into how even small acts of love and companionship, like caring for a pet, were far more meaningful to him than what he received from his own family. Deeper in Cat City, the protagonist finds himself in a park, surrounded by the quiet hum of the cats and the stillness of the world. Another flashback surfaces. He remembers now whenever his father would get angry, he would run to the park just to escape. Sitting there, he would draw, losing himself in the act of putting lines on paper, creating a little pocket of peace in the middle of the chaos. But even there, not everything was how he wanted it to be. He recalls how he always wished he could bring Celine with him, but his mother insisted that it was too dangerous. The park was a refuge, but a lonely one, an escape that he had to face alone. As he continues through Cat City, more memories start to surface. He thinks about how Celine would always come to him for safety and comfort whenever things at home got bad. No matter how loud the shouting got or how cold the house felt, she would find her way to him, curling up against his side. In those quiet moments, she was his only sense of peace, someone who didn't judge or demand, but stayed. It's a simple memory, but one that hits harder than most. For the protagonist, Celine wasn't just a pet, she was the only one who ever made him feel safe. In one of the final flashbacks within Cat City, the scene shifts to a set of train tracks. A younger version of the protagonist stands there, frozen in place, hearing the desperate cries of a cat. He turns around and finds her, small, terrified, and trapped between the rails. When he helps her free, he notices something horrible. Her tail is gone, as if she had been attacked. And while he walks back home from school, the cat follows him. He realizes that she doesn't have a home. He opens up his backpack and gently hides her inside, carrying her home like a secret. Eventually, his parents found out. They didn't care. They didn't bother to get rid of her either. They simply just didn't care at all. And that's when he named her Celine. In the final area of Cat City, the atmosphere changes. The playful, dreamlike tone fades, replaced by stillness. There's a graveyard ahead, and nearby there's one marked by a small paw print. When the protagonist interacts with it, one last flashback begins. He remembers the day he decided to take Celine to the park. He wanted to prove to his mom, and maybe to himself, that nothing bad would happen, that the world wasn't as dangerous as his mom had said that it was. So he led her outside. At first, everything seemed fine. She followed him closely, curious and cautious, but she started to run. He ran after her as fast as he could, but he couldn't catch her. Moments later, a car came down the street and unfortunately hit Celine, and Celine was gone. He blamed himself, saying that he killed his only friend. It's the final piece of his guilt, the heartbreak that shaped his loneliness. As the flashback fades, the protagonist stands frozen. The weight of what he's remembered, the guilt, the loss, the loneliness, hangs thick in the air. Then, out of the silence, another loneliness appears. Its form towers above him. It tells him that he was devastated after what happened to Celine, that in his grief he even thought about running into a car himself. Its words are cryptic, like the others before it, but cuttingly honest. It doesn't offer comfort or judgment. Instead, it reminds him that there is no right or wrong answer on his journey. Before vanishing, it pauses and asks a single question. Can you bring Celine peace? And with that, the loneliness fades, leaving him standing alone once more in the graveyard of Cat City, his heart heavier than before. The next morning begins differently. When he wakes, the first thing he notices is the flag, now standing quietly next to his bed. He picks it up and goes outside. Haven is already there, waiting. She greets him with her usual calm but cheerful smile, and says there's something that he's been avoiding. She tells him to get ready to not miss the bus and to head to the mountain. Haven's been an important part of him for a while now. He wonders if she still thinks about him, the real her. He knows the truth. The Haven in this world isn't real, but she still feels real enough to miss. He arrives at the base of the mountain. The air feels thinner there. Haven is there again, standing near the trail. She looks at him. She tells him that he's kept her trapped in his mind for years, that he hasn't been able to let her go. She says that she wants him to be happy, that he doesn't need a sheet to see the past anymore. He turns toward the path and begins to walk. The first thing he notices is an old park bench, resting beneath a tree. When he reaches out to touch it, everything around him changes. A memory unfolds. He's sitting alone on that same bench, earbuds in, listening to music. A shadow falls over him, someone standing nearby. It's her, Haven. She asks what he's listening to. He tells her the name of the band. She smiles, recognizing it immediately. There's something disarming about how easy it is to talk to her. Before she leaves, she offers to keep in touch through email. He remembers saying yes. Further up the trail, he finds the familiar desk with his mother's old computer on it. When he touches it, the screen flickers on. A memory returns. The day after meeting her. He's at home, checking his mom's computer, unsure if she really meant to email him. But there it is, her name in his inbox. Opening up the message, he reads her greeting. She admits that they never exchanged names and that she had fun talking to him. She asks if he'd like to hang out sometime. He remembers the rush that hit him then. Simple, warm, real. For the first time in a long time, he probably didn't feel alone. A little further ahead, 2 apple juice boxes sit beneath a tall tree. When he reaches out to touch them, the world shifts again. He's back in the park. Haven's already there, a small bag beside her, filled with snacks. They sit together, talking. Time doesn't matter, and it's just the two of them. The next object catches his attention immediately. A faint outline that looks almost like Haven herself. When he touches it, the memory comes rushing back. They're side by side under the same park tree, a single pair of earbuds between them, music quietly playing. Haven leans her head on his shoulder, comfortable, close. He remembers this day clearly. It was about a month after their first date. She pulls out a small metal grinder, holding it up. If you want to try it, it's your choice. He remembers saying yes, the first hit, the burn in his chest, and then, for the first time in a long time, everything felt quiet. His worries, his thoughts, his pain, gone. Just the sound of their music and the warmth of her shoulder against his. Ahead, a coat hanger stands holding a jacket. When he takes the jacket, the world shifts again. The memory begins. He's at home, preparing for a party Haven invited him to. She wanted him to come. Not for himself, but so that he could meet her friends. He picks out a black suit. He isn't very social, and the thought of meeting a group of new people makes him anxious. But he's doing it for her, trying to be positive. Even in the nervousness, he remembers a small spark of excitement, wanting to see her happy. He's at the party now, crowds of people moving around him, music pouring through the walls. In the distance, he spots Haven in a nice dress, chatting with her friends. Something about it feels wrong. The noise, the flashing lights, the unfamiliar faces, it's too much for him. He feels like an outsider in her world, just standing there. Haven seems so alive in that place, surrounded by people who seem to know her better than he ever could. The realization stings quietly. He steps outside, taking a seat and lighting up to calm his nerves. After a while, Haven comes out and asks if he's okay. He says that he's fine. She says that she's heading back in and that he should come too. He watches her walk away and then says to himself if she cared, she'd stay. The next object he comes across is the bed. When he interacts with it, another memory is shown. He's sitting on the edge of the bed, head down. Haven sits beside him, and she asks why he left, why he suddenly disappeared, but he doesn't respond. Inside, his thoughts spiral. She doesn't deserve an answer, he tells himself. She should be the one apologizing. The silence between them stretches, heavy and uncomfortable. The next object he notices is a lighter resting on the table. When he touches it, another memory comes flooding back. He remembers the weeks after the party, how the messages stopped coming, how neither of them said anything. The silence grew heavier with each day. He started smoking more often. At first, it was just to quiet his thoughts, but soon it became the only way he knew to not think about her. He became a heavy smoker without even realizing it. His thoughts always circling back to Haven. He wonders what he really meant to her. To him, she had been his calm in the chaos, his safe haven. Next, the protagonist comes across Haven, or rather, the version of her that lives in his mind. When he approaches, she asks if he remembers the time they climbed the mountain together. She reminds him of how they left the flag at the top, a small symbol that they'd made it, that they reached something together. She tells him that she misses him. Before he can say anything, she adds quietly that he's still unstable, that he's still not ready to let go. But he responds to her, "I want to move on." The scene fades, and one of the loneliness stands there, beside a dark, gaping hole in the ground. The protagonist steps closer, staring into the void below. Then he jumps. And just like that, day 6 begins. When his eyes adjust, he realizes where he is, or at least where he thinks he is. He's wearing the white sheet over him, and there's a bed, a clock, a plant, a table, and a shelf. All of it arranged exactly like his bedroom from the very beginning. Everything is different now, drained of color, stripped of warmth. It's like a hollow irritation of the space that once grounded him. With the sheet still on, the protagonist steps forward, finds himself standing in an empty playground. And though no one's there, the faint laughter of children echoes somewhere in the distance, warm, distant, and unreachable. On the ground, he finds a drawing he made as a kid. Staring at it, memories begin to surface. He remembers how he was never given many toys to play with, how he used to watch the other kids from afar, too afraid to approach them, too unsure of what to say. One day, he told himself that he would finally join in, that he'd try to have fun like everyone else. But when he did, the other kids rejected him completely. It felt sharp, cruel. So he stopped trying. He decided to be on his own, not that he ever really had much of a choice. Over time, the other children stopped feeling real to him. He began to see them as shadowy figures, faceless and unfamiliar, not like him. And even as he grew used to solitude, those figures didn't fade, they only changed, becoming the loneliness, tall and thin, watching him quietly from the edges of his mind. They didn't judge him, they didn't mock him. For the first time, he felt understood. The scene shifts once more. Under a park bench, the protagonist finds a backpack, signaling that this part of his journey is complete. Still wearing the white sheet, the protagonist wanders deeper into the abyss until he reaches what looks like a lake. He hesitates, then removes the sheet, careful to not get it wet, and steps forward. Through this, he sees a younger, distorted version of himself approaching. The boy looks lost as he asks the protagonist if he's seen his parents. He says that he's been searching for them everywhere, but they're nowhere to be found. The two walk together, retracing familiar paths until they arrive at a small house. Inside, the silence is everything. There's no one there. The younger self wanders over to a framed picture of their parents on the floor. He stares at it quietly and wonders aloud if that's all he has left of them. The protagonist reaches for the photo, ready to take it with him. His younger self almost stops him. You need it more than I do. Please, don't forget them." Then, just as suddenly as he appeared, the younger version fades away, leaving the protagonist alone once more. Now, this area is complete. Leaving the river-like area, the protagonist puts the sheet back on, and he spots a cat darting into the darkness ahead. A flicker of life in an otherwise endless void. The cat leads him to an open, abyss-like area where the ground seems to dissolve into stars themselves. There, sitting calmly and gazing upward, is Celine, his old cat. She looks exactly as she did before she died. Small, delicate, but cute. The protagonist sits beside her. Together they stare at the stars scattered across the infinite dark, the stars they never had time to look at together when she was alive. After a moment, Celine slowly fades away. The protagonist remains still for a while, then notices something small glimmering where she sat, a ball of yarn. He picks it up, and now this area is also complete. The protagonist, still draped in the sheet, steps into an old, silent building. The atmosphere feels oddly familiar, comforting yet heavy. As he explores, he notices the door left slightly ajar. Quietly, he walks inside. Inside, Haven is lying in a bed. The protagonist approaches slowly. They talk about the time that's passed, about where they've been, about the small, silly moments they used to share. Their conversation flows softly. At one point, Haven mentions that the flag's still there, the one that they used to mark the mountain, and she says that he can take it if he wants. He retrieves the old flag, and before he leaves, Haven speaks again and says, "Hey, try to smile once in a while." And when he leaves, that area is also complete. The protagonist returns to the central area, the place that once held the bed, the table, the plant, and the other pieces of his room, now each spot occupied by the loneliness he met along the way. They stand quietly, their presence both haunting and familiar. The middle one speaks. "You face everything you've tried so hard to forget. The past no longer holds you." One by one, the loneliness figures fade away. In the quiet that follows, a single rope descends from above. The protagonist grasps it and begins to climb. The climb feels almost endless, weightless yet purposeful. When he reaches the top, he finds himself at a deserted bus stop, and after getting on the bus stop, he is back home. Day 7 now begins. The protagonist wakes up in his room, and everything just feels lighter somehow. Next to his bed lies a small key, place where all the other items were once gathered. He picks it up, and he seems to know what it's for. Outside, he walks toward the locked door that had remained sealed since the beginning. He then inserts the key, and the lock clicks open. Beyond the door stretches a white bridge, glowing softly. He walks across it slowly. At the end awaits another bus stop. The protagonist sits down, the weight of his past finally lifting. The sign beside the stop quietly fades away. In the final cutscene, he looks down at his hands, steady, open, real. He had never had hands before in the entire game, and it's like a little foreshadow, like in the beginning of the game, when he was talking about the clock, he said something about how the clock lost its arms like how he did, and now that he faced his traumas, he's somehow got his hands back, and it's just a really phenomenal realization. He reaches out, and the screen fades to white. He has found the light at the end of the tunnel, accepted his pain, faced his loneliness, and has been reborn. And that was 7 days. I want to take a moment to give a huge thank you to Daver the Dave for creating such a phenomenal experience, and for generously giving me a Steam key to play it. This game genuinely touched me. It's haunting, emotional, and deeply human. The kind of story that lingers with you long after it's over. Every memory, every quiet moment, every piece of symbolism, it all truly, really does come together in such a powerful way. So thank you, Dave, or Daver. not just for sharing this with me, but for crafting something that reminds people that healing, even through pain and loneliness, is possible. If you haven't played 7 Days yet, I highly recommend checking it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. But before you go, I want to play the ending song to 7 Days, which I believe is called 7 Days. It's really good, so stick around till the very end to listen to it.